Hello and welcome to Cogito Ergo Pod, the show where we discuss, delve, and dissect theology, philosophy, mysticism, and the esoteric. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm so glad that you're here. Before we dive into the mists of Scotland, a quick reminder. If you enjoy our deep dives into the human spirit, please hit the follow on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok for daily insights, some behind-the-scenes thoughts, and more esoteric goodies. Your support truly keeps the lights on and the books open in our studio. Today, we are travelling to the edge of the known world. We're talking about Scotland, my home, a land of rugged beauty, fierce independence, and a religious history that is as turbulent as the North Sea. From the arrival of mysterious saints to the fire and brimstone of the Reformation, we're exploring how the land of the Scots became one of the most religiously influential nations on earth. For centuries, Scotland was a patchwork of Picts in the north, Gaels in the west, and Britons in the south. While the Romans were busy building Hadrian's and Antonine's Wall to keep the barbarians out, Christianity was quietly trickling in through the cracks of trade and Roman desertion. We often look to 397 CE as our first major anchor. That's the year St. Ninian is said to have established the Candida Casa, or the White House, in Whithorn, Galway. Ninian was a Briton, likely trained in Rome, who brought a structured Latin version of the faith to the southern Picts. But the records are hazy, shrouded in the kind of hagiography that makes history feel like a fairy tale. However, the archaeological evidence of early Christian stones, like the Kirkmadrin stones, tells us that the seeds were planted early. These weren't just religious markers. They were the first literate whispers of a nation beginning to define itself. The real turning point, however, comes in 563 CE. An exiled Irish prince and monk named Columba, or Columcille, landed on the tiny island of Iona. He wasn't just a missionary. He was a powerhouse of culture and politics. Columba founded a monastery that became the Alcatraz of holiness, a beacon of literacy in a dark age. From this remote outpost, a very specific flavour of faith began to spread. This is Celtic Christianity. It was mystical, deeply tied to cycles of nature, and organized around small, tight-knit monasteries rather than powerful, distant monks. It was a time of high drama, covered also in a previous episode. In the life of St. Columba, written by his successor, Adamonen, we get the first recorded encounter with the Loch Ness Monster. In 565 CE, Columba supposedly commanded the water beast to back off in the name of God after it attacked a swimmer. It's perhaps the ultimate spiritual power move to kick off a mission. This Celtic era also gave us the Book of Kells, parts of which may have been drafted right there on Iona, showing a level of artistic and spiritual sophistication that rivaled anything in continental Europe. In the 11th century, the winds changed. Scotland began to pull away from its isolated Celtic roots and align more closely with the heavyweights in Rome. Much of this shift was driven by Queen Margaret, later St. Margaret, around 1070 CE. She was an English princess who married King Malcolm III of Scotland. She felt the Scottish Church was a bit provincial and pushed for Roman reforms, including the observance of Lent and the Latin Mass. Margaret's influence led to the golden age of Scottish monasticism. We see the rise of great border abbeys such as Melrose, Dryburgh, and Jedburgh. These weren't just churches, they were the economic engines of the kingdom. But religion in Scotland was never just about prayer. It was about sovereignty. During the Wars of Independence, the Church was the backbone of resistance. This reached a fever pitch with the Declaration of Arbroath in 1320. This letter, sent to Pope John the 22nd, famously stated, "It is in truth not for glory, nor riches, nor honours that we are fighting, but for freedom." It was a bold assertion that the Scottish king was answerable to his people and to God, not to the King of England. Now, we fast forward a bit and we hit the 1560s. This is where things get truly explosive. If the medieval period was a slow burn, the Reformation was a wildfire. The spark was John Knox, a man who had been a galley slave and a student of John Calvin in Geneva. He returned to Scotland with a singular, fiery vision to turn the nation into a godly commonwealth. In 1560, the Scottish Parliament officially abolished the authority of the Pope and banned the Mass. This wasn't a polite transition, it was a clash of titans. On one side, the Catholic Queen, Mary, Queen of Scots, returning from France to a country she no longer recognised. On the other, we have Knox and the Lords of the Congregation. Out of this chaos, Presbyterianism was born. Knox's first book of discipline proposed something revolutionary: a school in every parish so that everyone, regardless of wealth, could read the Bible for themselves. As we move into the 17th century, the struggle for the soul of the Kirk intensified. The Stuart kings, now reigning from London after the Union of the Crowns in 1603, wanted to impose an episcopal system, ruled by bishops, on Scotland. Scots refused. In 1638, thousands gathered in Edinburgh to sign the National Covenant, some signing in their own blood. This led to the killing time of the 1680s, where Covenanters were hunted across the moors. However, the Glorious Revolution of 1688 finally secured the Presbyterian identity of the Church of Scotland. The 18th century brought the Scottish Enlightenment. Paradoxically, the Church's focus on literacy created a nation of thinkers like David Hume and Adam Smith. But by the 19th century, the Church itself fractured. In 1843, a momentous event called the Disruption occurred. 1/3 of the ministers walked out of the General Assembly to form the Free Church of Scotland, protesting the right of wealthy landlords to choose local ministers. The 20th century was a story of reconciliation and decline. In 1929, most of these divided branches reunited into the modern Church of Scotland. However, the trauma of 2 world wars and the rise of urban industrialization began a slow progress of secularization. Yet, this century also saw the remarkable rise of the Iona community in 1938, founded by George MacLeod, which sought to revive the ancient socially conscious Celtic spirituality in the modern world. As we have moved through the 2020s, the picture has shifted more dramatically than at any time since the Reformation. We are now living in a post-Christian Scotland. The 2022 census revealed a watershed. For the first time, a majority of the population, 51.1%, now identify as having no religion. The Church of Scotland has seen its membership dip significantly, navigating a Gethsemane moment of closures and mergers. Yet, Christianity remains the largest religious group at 39%. The Roman Catholic Church remains a steadfast presence at 13%, particularly in the West. Meanwhile, vibrant other Christian groups, like the Scottish Episcopalian Church to the new Pentecostal movements, are providing a different kind of energy. The killing time is over, replaced by a quiet, secular pluralism. Yet, the thrawn Scottish spirit, that stubborn refusal to let faith fade, is still very much alive. Whether you see these figures as saints, revolutionaries, or zealots, the quest for the divine shaped the mist-covered landscape of Scotland, from the hermit cells of Iona to the modern, diverse pews of today. The story is still being written. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the highlands of my soul. Before you go, please make sure to follow Cogito Ergo Pod on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. It really helps the show to grow. Please also give us a like and a subscribe if you're watching me here on YouTube. And for more deep dives and historical deep cuts, find us on Instagram and TikTok. Just search Cogito Ergo Pod. And I will speak to you again soon.